Good afternoon, Dr. Gary here. Dr. Gary on the road. We are nationwide dental practice brokers. Today's topic is never assume the deal is over with and closed until 5 minutes after the closing and the money has been wired. We're going to get into a specific incident that happened. You won't believe it. We're going to get into it. But anyway, we sell dental practices nationwide. We're in 26 states throughout the country. Name of our company is Healthcare Practice Sales LLC or Nationwide Dental Practice Brokers. We've been in business now 12 years, and we have 10 employees now. 2 CPA accountants, marketing director, operations director, and 5 development acquisition specialists. You can call us every day except Christmas and Easter. We work 363 days a year. We start approximately 7:30 in the morning and we end at 9:30 in the evening. 7 days a week, every single day. So just call us if you need us, East Coast time. The information you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes. It is not legal or business advice. If you're thinking about selling your office to a DSO, please call us. It will not cost you anything as far as commission, because the DSOs that we bring to you will pay our commission. Sometimes, under certain criteria, we may be able to get all your legal fees reimbursed upon a successful closing. So give us a call. We can explain that to you. So let's talk about today's subject. This has actually happened. I've been doing this 12 years, and it's always different. Every closing is different. Every single time. It's never the same. And I'm doing it for 12 years. It's just twists and turns and changes and moving parts, and there's many moving parts in a dental practice sale. With real estate, you got 12 moving parts, 10 or 12 moving parts. So it never ends. So let's get into what happened under this circumstance. Happened a few years ago. We're at the closing table. Okay? The contracts had already been signed because they get sent into the state. So the contracts were technically signed, but we had the final signatures to be done that day. So we're all at the closing table. The money for the transaction has been wired from the bank to the attorneys already. So the money is in the attorney's escrow account, ready to be dispersed. We're doing a physical closing at this time. That is, we're eye to eye at a table. We don't do that as much anymore. Mostly it's electronic closing, and we simply don't have a meeting. So this was at a time that we did have a physical meeting. So all the contracts are on the table. Money has been wired into the attorney's accounts from the banks. It is just sitting there. The seller's there. I'm there. The buyer is there. And the seller is there, plus the 2 attorneys. I don't know. I don't think a bank representative was there at the time, because they simply just wired the money and had all the paperwork and did everything by electronic transmission. But physically, we're at the table at an attorney's office. So what happens next, you won't believe, but it did happen. And when you hear these doctors, and I hear it often, say, I know what I'm doing. I've done multiple closings, 5, 6 closings. I know what I'm doing. This is not a new rodeo show for me. I've been there, done that before. I'm not a first timer. Yeah, I hear them all. So here we are. Suddenly, as we're about to sign the contracts, the buyer says, and we're only about 10 minutes from the office, the buyer says, I never got a chance to inspect the office prior to this closing. I was only there once, quickly. Aren't I entitled to do a walkthrough? And we said, well, look, the office is only 10 minutes away. If you can go and, go check it out, take 20 minutes, take a quick look, and then come back, we can get started and we'll finish up the paperwork in the meantime. The buyer leaves. So the office is only about 10 minutes away, and we're waiting and waiting. And now a half hour passes. And then 40 minutes passes. Then 45, 50 minutes passes. And then an hour passes. We start calling the buyer to find out what happened. The buyer doesn't respond. Now it's an hour and a half. We don't know what's going on. The seller's getting a little anxious, like, what's happening here? We don't hear from the buyer. 2 hours goes by, we're waiting. Buyer calls up and says, I'm not proceeding forward with the closing. I've changed my mind. Well, now the buyer is in breach of contract because he did sign a contract. And this was just the official closing, but the contract was signed. He's in breach of contract. He can be sued. And this is what explained to the two attorneys, explained to the seller what his rights are at this point. The seller's disgusted. There is no closing that day. The closing did not occur. What we found out later was when the buyer went to the office, he had a conversation with some of the staff. Whether it was sabotage or whatever it was, the staff said something to dissuade him. But it was not true, the information he got. I won't get into the details because who knows, this may turn into a legal case one day. But the staff kind of sabotaged him, or he misinterpreted what the staff said, or the staff never said anything negative. But he was blaming it on the staff. And he essentially changed his mind, got cold feet at the last minute, and left. We don't think he was actually doing a walkthrough, although we know he went back to the office. We think he simply got cold feet and used the staff as an excuse. We believe that's what happened. But either way, the closing never occurred. The buyer was liable and could have gone to a court case and so forth, but you never know with court cases. Can't predict who the winner is, no matter how good the case is or how great it looks. You can't predict when you walk in those doors. So one thing led to another. This deal didn't close. And these are the things that happen to us as brokers. We're exposed to them. I got nothing. The seller was angry. The buyer's attorney was pissed, about his behavior. So it just did not work out. It was a bad day, a really bad day. So these are things that happened, So you never know with these deals. It's not over until the closing is finished and the money has been wired out and received in the bank. There was another incident I'll tell you about. Everything went well with the closing. Everything was smooth. Everything was signed. Everyone shook hands. There was a problem. The bank did not wire the money out. At this point, the bank was paying everybody directly. It was not sent to the attorneys. Well, you can't do that. You cannot do that. So the bank came up with some excuse why they were not wiring the money. It wasn't as though we'll wire it tomorrow. They simply said, we're not doing it. The attorneys got them on the phone. And over 2 days, pretty much let them know, you will never do another deal to the bank in New Jersey again. Ultimately, after 3 days, the bank wired the money out. 3 days went by. That never happened to me before. And those of you who say, this is not my first rodeo, believe me, the strangest things can happen. That's it. Thank you.